everyone, welcome to my Essentials channel once again, where we do our project reviews, analysis, market direction, so on and so forth. I hope you like my content so far. If you like my content, please continue to like, share and subscribe, as it keeps me motivated to continue creating more for you. So far, I've seen many positive comments, some even summarizing my whole analysis and even putting the timestamps there. Really grateful to you. Okay, so today will be a special feature on what I'll be sharing with you on how to choose your projects, units, and most importantly, what frameworks do we have to choose a good resale as well. So as always, my analysis always stands at a consumer point of view, but I started this channel also because I want to give you, from an agent standpoint of view, what we actually think and how do we analyze these properties based on the consultation level as an agent today. So of course, you all may be thinking agents are always here to sell, but I think we also can take a look at how agents look at things and identify opportunities, because we are always on the ground and we understand what the consumers are looking for and their consumer thought process. Most importantly, if you think about it, why would an agent recommend you something that is difficult to sell in future and ruin his own reputation? We are here for the long run. But most importantly, think about it. Why would we recommend you something that is hard to sell in future and make our own lives difficult? Definitely we'll be recommending you something that is easy to sell. That also means that you have very clear exit strategies. So coming from this angle, I've also created frameworks and structures for my own team, but most importantly, for my consumers out there. How do we identify good units within the projects? But most importantly, is there a framework of doing so? So I believe by now you will have heard of this framework called the QPE framework. Is actually one of my leaders, or two of my leaders, who actually created this, coupled with my thought process and systematic approach, that we came up with this ARPS framework, or also known as QPE framework. So we are going to do 3 episodes. The first episode will be selection essentials for projects. The second episode will be selection essentials for units. And then the third episode will be how we use our ARPS framework or QPE framework to identify the clear exit strategy of your unit. How the buyer will actually look at your unit that you're about to purchase, so that you will have a clear exit strategy. Alright, so without further ado, let's get into selection essentials for project today. So starting off, here are the 7 factors to choosing a good project. The first factor will be transformation. Second factor, entry price. Third factor, resale comparison. Number 4, amenities and facilities and condo size. Number 5, demand and supply. Number 6, rentability. Number 7, primary school. So here are all its description. Transformation is of course the government's plan to enhance, transform and redevelop this area. It's split into 3 phases: announcement, completion and infrastructure. And each one of it has its respective returns and ROI. Alright, the next thing will be of course entry price. It refers to the comparison of the development's price and its respective region's pricing at that point of time. Also to check developers' break-even price versus the profit margin. 3, the resale comparison refers to the comparison of the development's price versus surrounding resale transactions prorated to become a brand new property, so that we can gauge, are we overpaying or not. Amenities and facilities, there should minimally have amenities such as transport, food, grocery options for convenience, while condo facilities should have gym, function room, so on and so forth. Demand and supply, there should be an equilibrium of supply and demand in the number of properties in the area and region. Naturally, it is preferable to look for a location with higher demand and lower supply. So we'll be doing a few comparisons, like the Red Hill population versus the supply of units there, and the Toa Payoh population versus the supply of units down there. So we can see the 2 different areas coming out, different time span and ROI respectively. Next, of course, rentability. Rentability refers to the potential of attracting a large pool of tenants. When there are tenants, investor will come, thus increasing your future buyer pool. Because the higher your rental, the easier it is to rent as well. It also means that it gives buyers more confidence to be paying more, as rental affects the sustainability of the mortgage as well. The higher the rental, the more buyers are willing to pay, because they can see the returns being able to cover the mortgage. Alright, the last thing, which is a bonus, is the primary school. Primary school usually refers to primary school within 1 kilometer of the development. This favors the rentability and future resale value. Parents looking to enroll their children within these schools will look for residents nearby. Potential investors will want to rent out to these parents as well. Number one, we get into transformation. So just like our previous video where we cover on the three-phase transformation framework. All right, so people always say follow the flow of the government and naturally you will make money. All right, but why do some transformation make lesser than others? Take example J Gateway, where on average it only makes 250k, but you have the Jurong CBD. All right, why in the same period of time you have Woodleigh, or rather Woodleigh residences within the Bidadari estate? They made an average of 500k within the same time span. Why is it so? So if you look at the three-phase transformation in summary, it is announcement, completion, infrastructure. And if we have the Bidadari chart, you can see from here, from announcement phase to completion phase, it increases by 41%. From completion phase to announcement phase, you will see it increases by 57%. And like what I say, infrastructure will start coming in. Cannot be we build an MRT station there and have nothing around it. Alright, the infrastructure comes in 2013, Bidadari estate is announced. From there, 2021, that is the completion of the Bidadari estate, where we see prices increase to 33%. And then of course we have the Woodleigh residences and more completing in May 2023, where we see prices going up to 22%. So you can see from here, just after the completion phase, it already increased by 112%. So if you're looking for something that has fast or quick returns or certain of returns, then which phase should we look for? We should look for the completion phase or the infrastructure phase. All right, because why? With infrastructure, population will come in, natural demand will go up, price will become more sustainable. But of course, just because that is not in the infrastructure phase, does it mean that you cannot buy? No, we can also identify properties that are in the announcement phase, because it gives you longer runway, multiple exit milestones, and most importantly, all the options that you have. Whether is it you want to exit in after the announcement phase, after the completion phase, or after the infrastructure phase, it gives you options as a consumer. Alright, so you can see whether is it announcement, completion, or infrastructure phase also make money. All these phases also make money. Am I right to say having options in life is a luxury? So depending on the objectives of your real estate needs, identifying which phase works better for you will be crucial, and that is why we will have this analysis for you. So you can see from here, based on the previous stories that I told you about the Northeast line running in parallel to KPE, we have the rail corridor running in parallel to the downtown line. Now we have the north-south corridor running in parallel to the TEL line. And with that in mind, you can see announcement phase is 15 August 2014, which created the awareness. Completion 2021 for Lentor and 2023 for East Coast, as well as the Orchard Boulevard region. So the next phase for all these stations is what? Infrastructure phase. And that's why you see the government pushing Lentor and Woodlands, so that it creates a price support for the RCR properties in stations such as Upper Thomson, Caldecott, so on and so forth. In the East Coast, the prime area is the Tanjong Ru, Katong Park, Tanjong Katong, Marine Parade and Marine Terrace. These are places where consumers are okay to pay $3,000 PSF for this prime East Coast area. But don't forget, the government also needs to start pushing the new townships at Siglap as well as Bayshore, where we see the recent land sales in the Bayshore area hitting this price, and the break-even will likely be 2,008 PSF, with the launch price being at 3,000 PSF, because Siglap and Bayshore is considered non-prime in the usual East Coast lovers mindset. So in order to push demand to that side, we have to first launch the prime East Coast area first. Once it's taken up, people, consumers, will then have no choice but to go for the Bayshore area. So last but not least, how can we miss out the opportunities? Applying the same rule, alright, the same three-phase transformation framework, we can see we have Orchard Boulevard, Great World, Havelock, as well as Outram, alright, and Napier. So these are the new stations in place, which is going to change the CCR city skyline. Alright, and if you are looking for something that has quick returns, or at least a certainty of returns, am I right to say, can we also explore the CCR using this concept that I've just given to you? Because these few stations are also focusing on the infrastructure phase. But don't you realize one thing? All the government land sales are exactly happening along this TEL line. So drawing our experiences from the Northeast line and the downtown line, can we use this as your next certainty of investment, or even for your own stay needs? Number two, entry price. I'm sure by now you have heard of many agents or even your friends or whoever it is telling you that entry price is important. To you, in your mind, probably as a consumer, entry price means just being the lowest in the area, in the whole development, so on and so forth. But I think with the sustainability of prices in the market right now, it's not so easy to find the lowest. And probably because you keep going for lowest, whatever, in the end, you lose out during bids, you lose out during offers. So is there a way to actually gauge what is a good entry price and what is the range we should be looking at? So the key thing is these 3 pointers: matching the development's pricing to the respective region's price range. Does it have a good buffer? Does it exceed the current respective region's price range? So let's take, for example, the current price range of OCR properties are between 2000 PSF to 2500 PSF, right? You have Lentor at 2000 PSF, you have Woodlands at 2000. So it's quite safe to say that right now the OCR region properties are between about 1009 to maybe 2004, 2005 PSF. Alright, so let's use a chart like this for example to gauge. We have condo A, B, C, D. Alright, the minimum PSF down here is like what I mentioned, 2000 PSF. The max PSF is 2500 PSF. Alright, is it within this range or has it exceeded this range? Of course, if it is closest to the minimum range of a 2000 PSF in OCR region, then this is a safe buy. Let's say condo A. B, maybe it is 2300 PSF, the halfway mark. Right, still, is it safe? Quite okay. And then of course you have condo C, maybe at 2004 per square foot. But this time around you have condo D, which is at 2600 per square foot. Right, anybody that exceeds this current range within this current period of time will likely result in a loss. So let's see a few examples. Alright, so you can see this is how the map looks like. Alright, the regions, OCR, RCR and CCR. I just draw it out for you so that you all have an idea what OCR, RCR, CCR, the areas entail. And you can see in the different timings, they have different ranges. For example, 2015 to 2016, the mass market range is actually 950 PSF to 1000 PSF. The rest of core central region is about 1004 to 1500 PSF. Core central region back then is 2000 to 2300 PSF. We have 202122, right, where the core CCR is 27 PSF to 3000. The RCR is 21 to 23. The mass market is 1007 to 1009. And of course, in recent times, we have the mass market being at 2000 to 2004 per square foot, RCR being about 2005 to 2009 per square foot, CCR being about 3000 to 3500 per square foot. Alright, so once we have all these ranges, more or less, we see the spectrum already laid out. Then we can start to gauge. So here are a few examples of developments that are within range and out of range and their eventual outcome. Right, so you can see this is Sims Urban Oasis. Back then in 1516, the range for RCR was actually between 1004 to about 1005 or even 1600 per square foot. You can see from there, Sims Urban Oasis, which started selling at about 1390 PSF, is actually outside below the range of 1400 PSF, indicating a good entry price. Eventually, can you see what they sell at? Because of developer staging up, became 1600 PSF. So in the end, it is a profitable development. But we can see within the same area at Katong Regency, right, within that same period, the RCR range was 1004 to 1005, but yet their launch price was 1751 PSF because of its freehold status mixed development. It is 300 PSF above its current range. And look what happened. In the end, the consumers needed to sell at 1490 PSF because that was that period's range. We can look at another project as a reference point within the same region, TRE Residences. They were selling just above the range of 1500 PSF, 1554 PSF, still about there within range. That's why it experienced a slight drop, but in the end bounced back up to sell at 1766 PSF. Right, we have another one called Park Place Residence. I think this is no stranger to you. Initially, they were also at 1854 PSF. In the end, what happened? Because they were exceeding the range of 1004 to 1005 by 200 to 300 PSF, end up they lost money and needed to sell at 1720 PSF. So can you see, this is a very easy way to identify, is your entry price actually a good entry price to be entering at, or are you exceeding the range, which makes it an unsafe product to go into. Next, of course, this is no stranger to many, I'm sure you must have heard of it by now. What is its break-even price versus the land price? So you can see we have Riverfront, Florence and 4th Avenue residences, an OCR and an RCR region example. You can see based on these attributes itself, the en-bloc price, the land price that is sold, the estimated break-even, so on and so forth. The launch average was about 1,250 to 1,300 PSF. Developer profit was only 4%. Profitable transactions, 229. So we can gauge how much did the developer profit. In the past, why consumers don't make money is also because the developers were profiting way too much, more than 30%. But if you see based on the land bid price of Riverfront and its break-even price and its selling price, in the end the developer profit is only an average of 4%. So if the developer doesn't profit, who profits? The consumers. Alright, same thing for Florence Residences. These are all its numbers. In the end, the launch average is about 1,400 PSF, which results in an average developer profit percentage of only 2.56%. And in the end, 60 profitable transactions and more. Alright, so this was just based on a previous timing that I did these slides, but of course today if you go online to check, it will be probably 100 profitable transactions by now. Alright, 4th Avenue residences is the same. The launch average is 2,300 PSF, which the developer percentage profit is only 4.54%. Profitable transactions, more than 10 transactions based on today's numbers if you go online to check. So these are additional pointers that you need to take note when you are checking an entry price. So here is all the numbers that show the profitability of the few examples that I just shown you just now. Number 3, resale comparison. So of course, how do we peg the new launch project that you're about to choose, alright, to the surrounding resale? So I've got this very cool trick or very quick trick that I've been sharing with my consumers. Maybe by now you all will know, but this is something that I want to do a quick referencing point. At least it gives me a benchmark on how do I really see whether are we overpaying for the particulars project as well or not. Alright, so we can see we compare to the surrounding resale and we observe surrounding resale prices. Assuming the surrounding resale is being sold as a brand new property today, we use that price and then we reframe it a little bit and assume that the surrounding resale is being sold as a brand new property today. So the formula is very straightforward. You take the price divided by the years remaining on the lease times back to 99 and renew it as though this resale is being sold as a brand new property today. If it is a freehold, we give it a good premium, meaning to say I count the time from the TOP rather than the land sold date. And that is the advantage that the freehold development will get to enjoy. Alright, so if it is a 99, you count from the day that the land is sold, because that's where your 99 counter will start ticking off. Alright, but if it is a freehold, then we give them a fair advantage. We give them 4 years in advance, in that sense of 5 years in advance. We count from the date that is TOP. Alright, that also gives back the freehold advantage. And then we gauge from there, and then we compare it to the new launch development that you are looking at. Whether is the resale price there being very close to the new launch that is launching at the moment. So new launch is ideal if the prorated resale price is selling at close or even the same price as the new launch. That means that if resale and new launch cost the same price, then the new launch may be a better advantage to be entering. So we have one example here where we have Commonwealth Towers versus Sterling Residence. I think we all know that Commonwealth Towers is definitely older than Sterling Residences. In fact, it is a project that was launched in 2013. The land was sold in 2013. So by 2018, it would have been 5 years. So we compare Commonwealth Towers 2018, where the resale transactions were transacted, versus Sterling Residences that was launched in 2018. Commonwealth Towers was a land that was sold from 7th May 2013. Comparing to 2018, it would have meant that 5 years have lapsed. The average resale sold was about 1,800 PSF. 1,800 PSF divided by 94 times back 99. You will get back 1,895 PSF. So this is the pricing that Commonwealth Towers will be sold at as a brand new property today rather than a resale. And if you compare it to Sterling Residences, how much did Sterling Residences launch at? It launched at 1,700 to 1,800 PSF. A new launch launching the same price as the resale. So in a way, that's why you see profitable transaction, 108 transactions. Alright, we use another example, Waterbank Dakota versus Grand Diamond. Waterbank Dakota at 2023 will have cost about 2.486 mil, 1.668 mil, 3.15, an average of about 2,000 per square foot. Comparing to the launch price of Grand Diamond, you would see them launching at about 23 to 25 PSF. There's quite a fair bit of distance, 2000 versus 23 to 25. There's a 300 to 500 PSF difference. But don't forget, Waterbank actually, the land was sold at 7th December 2009, a 14-year-old land already. And if we apply the same formula, the last average transaction was about 2000 PSF. We take 1950 PSF divided by 99 minus 14 years times back to 99, we will see actually this resale itself, if it is sold as a new launch today, it will have cost 2359 PSF, comparing to the launch price of Grand Diamond, which is about 2350 to 2400 PSF. And that's why you see the take-up rate of Grand Diamond being so high, because people make that comparison. People see that, hey, the resale, if it's sold as a brand new today, will have cost this price, then actually Grand Diamond may have presented a very, very good opportunity. Most importantly, if they were to buy Waterbank, being a 14 years development, it would definitely need renovations, which will eat into the costing. And that itself, it will add on to the resale PSF of 2000 PSF, maybe a renovation of 200 to 300 PSF. In the end, ultimately, it will also be 2300 PSF, being the same as a brand new property. Brand new and resale costing the same price, which one would you then choose? So I like to use this reference point as a gauge to see whether am I overpaying for the new launch or not. Alright, so next will be amenities and facilities and condo size. The scale of the condo matters. I'm not saying that small scale developments cannot make money. They can, but it's also largely dependent on the site plan, the unit distribution, as well as the layout of the units. So we can see from here, this is Suites at Paya Lebar versus Forest Woods. These are the same two developments within each other within the Serangoon area. They are all less than 5 minutes walking distance away. Suites at Paya Lebar is a small scale development with little facilities. The livability factors, always remember, the livability factors, are they in check or not? Because obviously this does not fulfill the livability factors, which in the end doesn't fulfill the family needs, and with that, that's why the natural demand is lower and results in a lower volume of transactions. Whereas of course you see Forestwood, this is how a normal large-scale development will look like. You have your full facilities condo, you got your playground, you got your swimming pool, you got your barbecue pit. The livability factors are in check, and in that sense, the family needs are met, and that's why you have a very good natural demand with clear exit strategy. And this actually translates into the numbers. You can see from here, Suites at Paya Lebar has ideal amenities. You are near NEX, you are near the MRT station, or fairly near the MRT station. You got your parks in the surrounding region, but the problem is within your own developments, you have little facilities. Average 87k profits with much longer holding period of more than 10 years versus Forest Woods with ideal amenities and extensive facilities, average 332k profits or more, because these numbers I've taken it about 1 year ago. So average 332k profits with much shorter holding periods of 4 to 6 years. Of course, with the lack of northeast region new launches, people who want to stay in the northeast region would need to buy a resale if they want to remain back in this area. So naturally, the profits will be more than 332k profits today. So you can see this is how the graph will look like. For Forestwood, it will be a gain of 32%. For Suites at Paya Lebar, only a gain of 17%. So now moving forward, we have Starlight Suites versus Rivergate. These are two developments opposite of each other within the River Valley area. Starlight Suites, you can see from here, is a small development, right, with limited amenities. The livability factors are questionable, all right, versus Rivergate, where you can see 3 iconic blocks with a nice feature pool that flows in between the blocks with a very, very iconic swimming pool. You got your playground, tennis court. The livability factors are in check for this one, and you can see the difference between the pricing. Starlight Suites ends up with a negative sale of -5%, meaning to say lose money of 5%, versus Rivergate, despite it being a very old development, is continuously making sustainable profits of more than 47.4%. So definitely there is an only exception. Am I right to say that all boutique developments cannot buy? No, actually all can buy. I can pull out a few examples for you that actually boutique developments can buy, but most importantly, they must have exceptionally excellent and irresistible layouts with a good entry price gap of 2 to 300 PSF compared to the bigger scale developments. And you can see here's a few examples such as Sunnyvale Residences. where we see them having profits of 120k to 150k. All right, we got vibes at East Coast, right, that actually lose money because of lousy layouts such as this penthouse layout that we have here with bay window and planter boxes. All right, we can see the Sunnyvale layout here, despite it being a dual key concept, it's actually very livable with no wastage of space in bay windows and planter boxes. So you can see the layout makes a difference. I'm not saying that boutique developments cannot make money. They can, provided their entry price have a good gap comparing to the bigger developments, but most importantly, does it have layouts that suit the livability factors? As long as you have good layouts that suit the livability factors, maybe you may not make as much as others, but because of your lower entry price, it does cater to your family livability needs, and in that sense, still have that natural demand coming in, and you will still be able to profit. Number 5, demand and supply. So we can see from here, we have these two examples. How does it affect your exit strategy? We got the Red Hill cluster versus the Toa Payoh cluster, and all these numbers are transparent. You can go online to Google to take a look at their population. So if we go and Google Red Hill's population, you would actually have a population of 151,800. But if we pull up from EdgeProp itself, can you see how many developments are there within the vicinity? You got more than 10 private properties for comparison. If you are the buyer today, you like Red Hill area, you have 10 projects to compare to. Am I right to say you are kind of like spot for choices? Whether they are good layouts, bad layouts, older developments, newer developments, am I right to say a choice is still a choice? But that of course will affect the duration of the decision making process of the buyers. As compared to Toa Payoh cluster, if we look at that, within that 1 kilometer region, you only have 2 developments, Gem Residences and Trevista. With that in mind, of course, with the recent introduction of Ori, as compared to the Toa Payoh cluster, where we have a population of 120k and only 2 developments to choose from. A similar population number, but yet a huge difference in the number of comparison. Am I right to say that if I really want to stay in Toa Payoh, I have no choice but to choose only these 2 developments, no matter how shitty or how crappy, right, the layouts may be, or how crappy the livability factors are? I want to stay Toa Payoh, I want to stay private, I have no choice but to choose Gem. And that's why you will see Gem actually profiting, despite sometimes the layout being very questionable, because their glass curtain frames eat into the bedrooms, making the bedrooms smaller already. It is already quite small to begin with the bedrooms being 8 square meters. With the glass mirror frame eating into the space, actually sometimes the bedrooms in Gem Residence can't even fit a queen bed. Of course, with the introduction of Ori right now, it will give this population here a new alternative to choose from, and that's why you can see me ranking my Ori project analysis being quite high, because the exit strategy is quite clear down here due to the lack of choices, the more superior layout that offers an alternative choice within Toa Payoh itself. So moving forward, you can see based on Echelon and Alex Residences, based on the number of days held, is an average of 3,800 days, which also means generally about 10 years of holding period, with an average of 1.54% per annum. Alex Residences is the final addition in the area, average 1.67% per annum, generally 7 years of holding period. As compared to Gem Residences, where the demand is higher due to the population there, but yet lower supply, lack of choices. You can see despite the flaws it has in this layout, it grows at an average of 4.2% per annum, generally 4 years of holding period. Demand and supply affects the resale exit. Shorter time, better annualized ROI. How long to achieve highest returns and exit? Right, it's also very dependent on the demand and supply scale within the region. Next, rentability. Of course, unlike commercial properties, the rental value of the residential developments doesn't really affect the appreciation of the residential properties. It plays a bigger role in commercial properties because of the lack of natural demand in commercial properties. Alright, residential, you must understand based on my previous video, like what I said before, residential, buying property in Singapore is a need. With a need, it means also natural demand is being met or introduced. But in commercial properties, the natural demand may not be that high, because people can choose to rent when they set up their business rather than own the property. So the need is not exactly that high. That's why when it comes to commercial properties, rental values plays a bigger part in terms of capital appreciation. Alright, but in terms of residential, It is of course the livability factors that meets the needs that in the end create the natural demand. So that's why residential, we don't really look that much in rental value, but commercial, we will rely more on the rental value to help sustain. Alright, but of course it does help a little bit, because with higher rental value, it does give the buyers of the residential properties more confidence to pay a higher price. And with that in mind, identifying the rentability of your development is still a crucial factor to look at. Are you able to identify your pool of tenants? We can take a look at where business parks are situated. We have Changi Business Park, International Business Park, Jurong Innovation Districts. These are places that actually give you your tenant pool. That's why you look at Jurong itself. Hey, being a 3-bedroom there can actually command up to 6 to 7k of rental. That's quite crazy, isn't it? Alright, we look at like Park Rivera area. A 2-bedroom, 624 square feet can bring you actually about $3,500 to $4,000 of rental. Hey, that's not bad comparing to a 1.2, 1.3 mil property purchase price. Next will be office clusters. Here I've attached a link for you all to click in. Basically, you can Google it. It will be a URA website. You got Jurong Lake District, Central Business District, Tampines Regional Centre, One North Business City, Mapletree Business City. Your tenants are the expatriates as well as the professional. How about healthcare clusters such as Novena Medical City, Tan Tock Seng, KKCH, SGH, NUS, so on and so forth. Your tenants, doctors, nurses, staff, so on and so forth. Because of the jobs created, people need to have a rental unit to be situated near their workplace. Alright, so international schools, here's a list of international schools that you can actually take reference from, followed by the integrated hubs where you see Midtown Bay, Sengkang, Grand Pasir Ris 8, Woodleigh residences, expatriates from office staff due to more job opportunities. Finally, last but not least, the bonus point, primary schools. Alright, I will not base the selection of projects solely on a primary school, because there are so many other developments that don't have a primary school and make substantial profits. We must always understand the government vision, which is livability. As long as it is livable, the needs are met, you will always have an exit strategy. The school is just one additional factor to contribute to the livability needs. Alright, but I'm sure you have heard somebody who say, wow, must buy near school, blah, 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 blah. Does it mean that it doesn't have a school? Then it does not profit that much. No, it still profits. But of course, having this is a bonus. So if we look at this, we have 2 examples down here. We've got 4th Avenue Residences, which doesn't have a school. Average profits of 190k. No school, still profit. Okay. But of course, we see Mayfair Modern being within 1 click to Methodist Girls' School. Hey, we see an average of 260k profits. Alright, not just Methodist Girls' School, we also have Pei Hwa Presbyterian Primary School. Alright, so similar product, similar quality, with Mayfair Modern being further away from the MRT, yet easier exit with a shorter period and higher annualized return because of the school. Alright, but other than that, does it mean that no school means don't make profit? No, I've just shown you that without a school, it still does make profit. Just that sometimes having a school may help speed up the exit process, that's all. Alright, so here are all the 7 factors of how I would actually choose my projects. Definitely there is no hard and fast rule. Alright, there is no such thing as a perfect product. Even if you have 10 million, 20 million, you still can't find the best and the most perfect product. Yes, English, there's a problem there, is most perfect, because I see sometimes buyers trying to get the perfect scenario and all the perfect attributes. I think we use this as a guideline, alright, to check and tick most of the boxes, but that is the main reason why we created the ARPS system or the QPE framework. It's because we understand that there is no such thing as a perfect property in Singapore. There is always pros and cons, and of course, depending on your scenario, some things that you can accept, some things that you cannot. But is there a way where we can take ourselves, you as a consumer and me as an agent, out of the equation? We have a third party neutral point of view, a thought process where we analyze the project or unit that you're about to buy, not influenced by our own preferences that makes it too dynamic to pinpoint. In a way, this framework takes both parties out of the equation and evaluate this development and unit as it is and what it is in a neutral point of view. Alright, and that is the main reason why we created that framework for you. Alright, so with that in mind, moving on will be our next episode, which is how to select our unit. Alright. Alright, we will have various examples for you to draw comparison to, and of course the various factor to help you pinpoint which is the right unit to choose after you have shortlisted your project. So if you like our content so far, remember to like, share and subscribe to keep me motivated, to keep me going, to create a lot more of this insightful content for you.